Good morning and welcome to Altenberg in Saxony. We're deep in the heart of German bobsleigh territory as we get ready for round 6 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. It is our third German track of the season and we are getting ready for the action to start here. Good morning everybody, I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan at one of the toughest tracks the drivers will face all season long.
Yes, this former old East German sports military facility built in the mid-'80s. It opened up with its first competition 30 years ago last month. And Myers, Taylor, and Garrett have the start record. It's a long start. It's a big challenge for the athletes to come down this track and then get around this first curve quietly. Matthias Benisch, the curve's named after. He's the track manager. He crashed there. That tells you how challenging the track is. Now you get set up for this curve 3. Omega, exit of Omega into curve 4. Big challenge. 19 to 23 sleds of the day. He crushed the wall before they get into that curve 4. Keep our eyes on that today. The elaborate three-quarter combination. Now, Harold Schodai, named after the 1994 Olympic champion, who's from this area. Kreisel, what a challenge. This is up and down loops. Then the exit into this hostile 11 and 12 curve. 13, a lot of pressure. 14, speed, you're still accelerating. Uphill section, I call it a graveyard section. You can't make any mistakes. Now we go into the finish, almost 4 Gs of force, 80 miles an hour. There's tracks that are challenging, and then there's Altenberg, Martin. It is quite a challenge for the athletes.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's one that the drivers really relish because you can do more than just start quickly here. The start is always important, the equipment's important, but here you can't get down easy. This is a tough track, and Kaylee Humphries is one of those who's tamed it most regularly. She's our World Cup points leader with 2 wins so far this season. 2 wins also in the last 2 races before Christmas for Germany's Stephanie Schneider. And the other one of our 5 races this season is won by Jamie Grubel-Poser. Never off the podium all year is Alana Myers-Taylor, but she's yet to win a gold medal. Well, there is Kaylee Humphries. She's had 2 wins in the last 2 outings on this track, and after a little bit of a fallow post-Olympic couple of seasons, she's right back on form. Lana Myers-Taylor, John, she crashed twice on the final day of training, but she seems to be fine to go racing today.
There's Annika Dresden, there's the Russians.
One of the US sliders won't be going. Brittany Reinbold crashed on both the first days of training, and so she will not compete here today. However, we still have a big field, 21 sleds, so somebody doesn't get a second heat, and it's likely to come either from the first 3 or the last couple. Konomi Osazu of Japan is first on the start draw. The top 3 start order actually come from outside the top 15 sleds. Then from 4th down to 15th, we have the top 10 in a random draw, and below them, everybody else in their World Cup ranking order. Race 6 of the World Cup for women's bobsleigh. Started off by Konomi Osazu, 31-year-old from Japan, with 22-year-old brakewoman Arisa Kimishima behind her.
She's been on the bench for most of the season with a hamstring injury. She's not 100%.
This is Konomi's 10th World Cup start as a driver, her first ever time here. Started on the brakes in 2009-10 and then came in as a driver at the beginning of last season.
This twosome finished 7th in the World Championships last year with decent start times and a very shocking end result. We were all surprised that they would get in the top 10. Since then, though, their performances have dropped off a lot because they've been injured. There's that 3-4 combination with a little tap before 4. And this track is a highlight reel from top to bottom.
There is action all the way and so many really important steers. There's a critical one on the straight out to 9 down to the Kreisel, the 270-degree corkscrew corner with a 3rd pressure that comes right at the exit. Always spits the sleds out.
She's pretty good. Now 13, she gets in a little late. 14, now watch the uphill section here. Boy, she's across the ice right in that apex going uphill. Gravity sport, you don't want to be going sideways uphill.
First time she's ever been here in a sled, so 6 training runs. And then her first in competition.
58.01's pretty good time. That's a second 2400s off the track record.
Pretty mild this morning, John, and as always, the track is in impeccable condition here. The Ice Meister just does, and his crew do such a stunning job.
Yeah, I was with Ralph. We were with Ralph Monday last night. He's the only track meister, Ice Meister they've ever had here since it opened in 1983.
Man and boy, I had to explain the expression to him. Yeah.
Well, this is the top of the track 8-9 combination, and then the long straightaway to set you up for the treacherous Kreisel. And here's that uphill section I talk about. Boy, you want to accelerate even more there and not put the brakes on by skidding.
Well, decent start for Konomi Osazu. Next up is Maria Constantine of Romania, back in the World Cup. 8th place in the race here last year. She's had 2 8th place finishes here in Altenberg, one of her strongest tracks.
592, better start than the Japanese, and their teammates, one of the 2 sleds, Andrea Greco, not going like Brittany Reinbold, crashed a couple times in training, and they've held her out of the race.
That's understandable. Greco's only done 6 World Cup races in her life, so as a driver,
not a place for the inexperienced.
Got to learn it someday, but maybe another year behind the D-rings will help her. Good exit there, avoids the wall.
Drifting, 2/10 in the hand, 114 kilometer speed. Keep your eye on that. Oh, real high. Watch out. Watch out here. She got it back under control. Boy, how did she get that?
Only just.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Not sure whether that was luck or judgment, but it somehow didn't go over. Maria Constantine still with the lead. She's got lots of speed still over Konomi Osazu of Japan, and she will have the lead at the line by a quarter second. But
look
John,
Paul in the angle.
Yeah,
Paul, we agree with you. That was pretty.
He can start breathing again.
Wow.
I don't know which of those the replay boys are going to go for, because that was a smorgasbord of choices.
Martin, the whole track's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Bogo's got plenty of choices, but he's got a couple isolated shots that he'll show us. But every place on the track, she had problems at Kreisel. The exit across. Watch her go down. Now watch her get right back up to the lip. She almost disappears. Now she's got some issues. She comes down too quick. Forces her. Look at that picture.
Yeah.
Watch this on the outlet. How she doesn't tip over. The sled is airborne.
Well, if that was a 2-man sled with the extra weight of the men in, that would have gone over.
And then she corrects so she doesn't panic.
And look at the way she hits hard there.
She came out of 12 like nothing happened. Look at the expression on her face. And she's an experienced driver.
Yeah. Next up, our second Japanese sled, Maria Oshigiri, the 24-year-old, was 12th here in the World Cup race last year. This is her second ever time. In fact, last year's race was her World Cup debut as well.
580, that's a great start. Best start of the 3 sleds so far.
Great woman Marika Morimoto made her debut in Lake Placid. This is only her second World Cup start.
Let's see how she gets out of 3. Yeah, she taps a little bit. Better than the other day. Warmer conditions than the athletes have trained on all week. It was a lot colder, fast. Number of crashes in the women's training.
Oshigiri's debut here in Altenberg, 12th place finish, still her best World Cup result, and in fact that's true for her teammate as well.
Watch out!
Oh, cool.
See that little tap
Big
before
hit.
11 on the exit of Kreisel. Oh, she's airborne there!
Oh, she's gone, and that's a big hit.
Might come back up. She's gonna finish though. The good, try to take a negative to a positive. She will finish. There's the finish line. Now they gotta grab the sled.
Well, then again, they're very experienced at that here, because it's not been without crashes in the training runs.
Where it goes, they didn't get to it in time. It's coming all the way backwards. That's where the athletes have to really be patient, stay in that little cocoon.
You're not in a seat, you don't have a seat belt, you're hanging on bent double onto 2 little metal handles, and you know, they're tiny handles.
I'm very surprised they didn't catch that sled, because now that sled goes backwards and gouges the track up even more.
The guy in the red and black jacket there, he's at the low point, and you can see, look, the driver's visor is heading down. The sled will come back down from right to left. Here it comes.
Can't believe they didn't have anybody there to hook the sled.
And you see the gouges in the track left by the crash. Actually, Ralph was telling us last night that the American sleds, the BMW sleds with the real sharp keel on the nose, those are starting to really dig up the track when they crash. And why is the track worker not getting in? Because this is a lot of weight moving, and you don't want to get in and add your injured body to the mess.
They didn't have a hook there. They know where they're going to do that. And
yeah. Well, there you are. That's why the door is there, and you can see that the emergency doctor is there.
Another minute they didn't get to the athletes. So.
Yeah. And that's very unusual. Again, as I said, lots of crashes in training, particularly with the women's field. And, well, that pretty much settles who's not going to make the race. Maria Oshigiri third at the moment. She's 9/10 back. And so she's unlikely to go for a second heat, even if the crew are okay. And they should be, because they were both tucked in. Although, when she went over, Oshigiri looked like her head hit the ice pretty hard.
Well,
there's...
the mistake, was up...
I think the brake woman's out.
The mistake was up above curve 11. They're both out. Yeah. They're fine. But...
And you'll see under the race suits on some tracks, Samuritz, next week, you'll just see them wearing Leica. Under the race suits here, you'll often see body armor. And in fact, honestly, I think Burns vests should be mandatory in this sport.
She hits this wall, it pushes her over in the middle. She's laid here. Watch her cause this skid coming out of 12 into 13. She comes in the wrong side of 13, has to get up high. Now watch the back end of the sled go airborne. And then she, centrifugal force almost takes her to the top of the curve late, and
it's going over a long way, and she really hit the wall hard. I would not be putting her in the sled, and I'm sure the doctor will be really paying attention to Maria Oshigiri's responses. Well, there's Maria on the right-hand side, her brakewoman Mariko Morimoto. They're pretty beat up, but they are out, no bones broken, and again, wearing the Burns vests, because when you slide down the ice, it really makes a mess.
Hans Wimmer on the left, he's taken over the Japanese program, done a great job with the 7th place finish. The World Championships in Kodashi last year shocked everybody. It was the best Japanese finish ever. Men or women's bobsledding, and the Japanese have been sliding since the 30s.
And had a good result in the men's skeleton yesterday as well.
Yeah, top 10.
Yeah, Hiro Takahashi, his first top 10 finish in a couple of seasons, 3 seasons plus, I think.
I think the Korean success is fueling the Japanese to also be more competitive.
And also, with their new coach, they've kind of stripped back down to basics, what they were doing, where they were going, how they were performing, and having come out of a very efficient US setup, I think he's bringing quite a lot of changes to the team, and that does seem to be starting to pay dividends. A little track hold while the sled is removed and the athletes are checked over. Lots and lots of fans coming in here this morning. A little bit of a late start. I mean, what's the time now? It's 1 p.m. So the Bratwurst stands will be doing business before the first sled hits the ice, which is good for them and uncommon. But it's a long afternoon as well.
Yeah, we got bobsled, 2-man bobsled later on today.
Yep.
It's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, so that'll be a night race. 5 o'clock, it'll be pitch black.
It'll be a lot of people here. And
yep.
Not that there's not a lot of people here now. This is a very educated sliding sports crowd.
And of course, the big draw for them in the men's field, Francesco Friedrich, who's from Pirna, which is about 15 kilometers from here, and Nico Walter from Freital, also a local boy, and that's about 8 kilometers away from the track.
Stephanie Schneider's a Saxon.
Yes, she is. So
she's
they've
coming up in about 10 sleds.
And boy, what a roll she's on. She's won the last 2. Since we've arrived in Europe, she's been in the catbird seat. She has won both races here in Europe pre-Christmas. So Stephanie Schneider could be a very strong bet right now. You wouldn't count against her. In fact, the podium in the last 2 races has been identical. Schneider has beaten Alana Myers-Taylor with Mariama Yamanka in the bronze medal position.
Listen, Schneider's gone 3rd in Lake Placid. She was the most surprised person. And then she followed it up in Park City, 4th, very respectable. 3rd was her first medal ever. Yep. Then we went to the high-speed track in Whistler. She finished 20th. Then she comes back to Europe in Winterberg, wins her first ever event, follows it up in Eagles and wins her 2nd event. And here she is on her home track, but she did crash in training, which adds a little spice to the mix.
Always does, doesn't it? Just kind of jangles the nerves a little bit. It was the final day of training, but she was okay. Well, hanging around at the start line is something that Kaylee Humphries has been occasionally accustomed to. You know, she's been around long enough that this sort of thing doesn't phase her. Felicia George behind her, her brake woman.
This is a rookie that's been up there. She's thinking, but if you're going to come down the track in Altenberg with any pilot, it would be Kaylee Humphries.
Kaylee Humphries, absolutely.
She's the veteran in the field. The only other person I think that has maybe as many trips down this track as she does might be Elfie Williamson of Belgium.
Well,
everybody else is, you know, it started after Kaylee, who started driving in 2007, 6-7.
When Elfie had her first trip here, she was a brake woman. Kaylee was racing then. So was Alana Myers-Taylor, although she was a brake woman. And the only other woman in the field that was competing then was Christina Hengster, who's been a medalist in the last 2 races here.
Let's go, girls.
Well, Felicia George on the back handles of the Canadian sled with the double Olympic champion, Kaylee Humphries. Felicia making her second ever World Cup start.
2-time Olympian in Rio and London in the hurdles.
Yep.
She's not the only hurdler in the field. There's a lot of them.
32-year-old double Olympic champion, the winner last year and the year before with Melissa Lottholtz. Kaylee Humphries.
Wow. That's 56 is the start record. Now watch, probably the only athlete in the field with goggles on. Let's see if she gets through 3 here without tapping the wall. Nope, nobody's got through there yet, but she's got 6/10 in the bag. This could be a track record if she keeps up at this pace.
Well, this isn't about the women who have been before. This is about laying down the gauntlet that those coming behind her have to pick up.
She needs about a second 20 lead to take the track, get close to the track record. She's coming on it. Watch the uphill section here. If she's clean, she'll accelerate more. There it is. This is track record.
Well, she set the record winning 2 seasons ago. Is she going to set the record and win again?
Yes,
she does. Well, that's how mild it is today. There's no frost on the track. It's the 4th sled down, 5th sled down. She's had a great opportunity, and she has set a new track record, 56.22, 5500s quicker, John.
That's a track record from November of 2015. She set with Melissa Lottholtz. But this is her race to lose with what's happened to Alana Myers-Taylor, the inexperience of Schneider. This is Kaylee Humphries' race to lose. And this tap here, nobody's got through there yet clean. And look at the back end here. So you can see the hassle that causes you, 4 to 5. But the rest of the lines down the track, well, textbook.
Yeah, look at that.
I mean, you know, just as good as it gets. And that's what happens with a 2-time Olympic champion, World Cup leader, and all the above.
And the other 2-time Olympic champion in the field is on the back of this sled, because Heather Moyst, the brake woman for Alicia Rissling, won with Kaylee Humphries in Vancouver and in Sochi.
Okay, this is a long start. This really favors athletes who can run. Velocity at the end.
That's the old track record. No, beg your pardon. 5:56 is the start record. So 5:77.
So Alicia's going to have to get out of the curve 3 perfectly.
Well, she's never raced here before, so she too has had 6 training trips as her total experience of this track.
She's only 3/10 down. That's relative to the start. Now let's see if she can get the clean line exit of 9.
That's a good run so far from Alicia Rissling. This is only her 14th World Cup start. Her best result, 3rd place in Pyeongchang last March.
A little low here, watch out!
Oh, hits hard.
Watch out in here too, she's laid there. Not as bad as the Japanese sled, but that's perfect.
Yeah, got it all back under control. That one hard hit, 11 to 12.
Speed is pretty good, 2nd best speed. Teammate all the way down, a full 2nd behind.
We don't know how far back that is.
We don't know how far back that is. Correct, Lyndon Rush. She may be top 5. She may be top 10.
I think that's top 10.
Well, that is 3/10, 2800ths off the old track record. So actually, that's a pretty decent run as well.
Well, the start. This is a longer run for the athletes in the Heather Moyst, the oldest brakeman in the field, and one of the most experienced. Look at the great technique. Gets in, gets buried. Now, she's a little late here. Look at it, gets on the wrong side of that straightaway, which then she has to come in here and turn, and then she gets the take on before 12. Back end of the sled coming up. That's not the way you want to approach the bottom part of this track.
There's Heather Moyes. They're having fun down there. Away at the top goes our third Canadian sled in a row. This is just a random start draw. Let's the way the cookie crumbles. It's Christine de Bruyne, the 28-year-old.
79, and this is she's right behind Brittany Reinbold in points. So the top two nations get 3 sleds. The Germans are locked in. The Americans, the Canadians are fighting for who goes into the Olympic Games. So this could be an Olympic run and competition.
De Bruyne is only 20 points behind Brittany Reinbold. So crucial for her is that she finishes both runs.
Yeah, if she finishes the first run, she's automatically in the 21st place.
Yeah. So that's all she needs to do, and it's just as well that they don't need a podium out of her because this is her first time ever down this track. It's only ever 12th World Cup start as well.
Oh, a little late there.
Uses the height well, though, controls it nicely across the line, third place. So that'll do.
Her husband, Ivo de Bruyne, yesterday in the Europa Cup in St. Moritz, DNF. Disqualified. Or no, it's disqualified.
Yeah, disqualified,
I don't know why, but...
it was about 3 kilos overweight.
Boy.
Yeah, and you know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but...
In St. Moritz, weight is everything.
If you're a few ounces overweight, you're disqualified. 3 kilos. Tom Delahunty must have been absolutely apoplectic.
So the 3-4, she doesn't get through there clean. Nobody has yet, but look at the back end of the sled, gets it airborne. Then she gets pushed into the middle of the curve, and you saw the big abrupt change of direction. That's steering, and then here she does a little bit, snakes through there okay. Skidding out of 12, but...
Great woman Cynthia Appia with her, making her first start since Winterberg. Kaylee Humphries is our leader. Canada 1, 2, 3. 6 sleds down, 5 successfully. And next up is Jamie Grubel-Poser, 34-year-old American, was 5th here last year, but she took the bronze medal the year before, tied with Christina Hengster.
Okay, Asia Evans. This might favor her, this long run. You heard some screaming. 5:63, so they get beat by the start. I tell you, George for Canada on the back of Kaylee Humphries' sled. Felicia George just put down a big start. All Kaylee Humphries wants to do is stay tied with the Americans or close to them at the start. Because she's got the driving ability to get them down below. But if she gets behind at the start, only 600s back.
Jamie Grubel, Asia Evans, such a potent combination, aren't they? And Grubel-Poser really pushing hard to try and get her second win of the season.
Big speed, though. That's the best speed.
1100s, 17. She's drifting away a little from the Canadian.
Here, watch out. No, gets through there.
Again, the difference between the experienced drivers when it all goes a bit squirrely and the inexperienced is very clear.
Well, pretty much second, 4,400s back. You know, she won the World Cup title last year, but she was 5th in this event.
That's 1100s faster than the old track record as well, which was a 56.77. So she's gone inside the winning time from 2 years ago.
Good run for Jamie. I think that puts her into the medal hunt.
Yeah.
You know, Humphries just, you know, blew the field away. Watch the tap. Now that forces her in the middle of the curve. She's got to make an adjustment, but she comes through that S combination. But watch the back end. A little bit like a corkscrew as it goes into this 13. And this is where you can roll face into that curve or the next one.
There's so many ways to get it wrong here.
We've seen it all.
Well, next up is Alana Myers-Taylor from the USA. Silver medal last year for the world champion. She was the winner in the 2014-15 post-Olympic season.
These two should at least match Humphries or get into the 50s.
Brianna Jones making her 4th World Cup start, the 25-year-old. Oh, my word! And that's why she's on the sled. Big slide.
Skid, though. Big skid. She steers around that curve there.
Well, she had to.
She's got a skid going again.
She was coming in backwards.
And she hit hard here in training on this exit. It's not there. Maybe she steered too much, though. Next clock, it's only 100, so she's already given away her start advantage.
But she's still in the mix. She needs to get this down in one piece and in a competitive position, just for her own frame of mind.
Her problems are here on the exit of this curve right here. Ooh, that's not good.
Big height on the Kreisel, flops off.
That was pretty good, though, when she recovered.
A little late.
Here.
And these all run into each other. If you're late off the Kreisel, you're late
there.
all
Look
the
at
way
this.
down.
Watch out here.
Oh my goodness!
Hellacious.
How did that get so sideways into corner 15? Over the brow beside our commentary position, Brian Schreimer breathes a big sigh of relief. He won't be the only one.
They were clapping, but they really, inside, I'm sure were, whoa.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Brianna Jones may be aware of how close she got, but she will be very interested when she sees the footage later on tonight, I reckon.
Well, you know, she crashed twice in training, so doesn't have a lot of confidence coming down the track, but here on the bottom, she figures she's almost safe, and then watch this. I mean,
Look
what a way to
watch
look
the
at
eyes.
Look at those pictures.
Have you ever seen a sled do that here?
Yes, but it rolled into the curve.
Yeah. That guy with the camera phone, what a shot he's got. Well, next up is Anna Kohler, the first of our German sleds, the 24-year-old from Dortmund, former skeleton slider, making her 6th World Cup start in a bobsled.
Yeah, and she's got that world champion brakeman on the back. The Germans are really pushing Kohler to go forward. She qualified with a great finish in Winterberg, top 5 finish. She qualified according to German standards.
Annika Dratzek was with Stephanie Schneider last time out in Innsbruck. They won together. Can she work some magic with Anna Kohler?
1200s back. It's not bad. She was 600s back at the start. Only 12 there is a good sign. If she keeps some good lines here, 115 speed, 115.8, that's great speed. See what she can do here in the exit.
That is the top speed, quicker even than Jamie Grubel-Poser. 116.8.
Watch out for her.
She is right in with the top 3 at the moment. This is a great looking run from Anna Kohler. It's always dramatic.
Could be 3rd.
Your heart's in your mouth all the way down here. 3rd place for Anna Kohler, ahead of Alicia Rissling and Christine de Bruyn. Lisette Turner bellowing at somebody there.
Well,
good run. And a little less scary in the back seat, I think, for Annie Dratzek than it was just now for Brianna Jones with Alana Myers-Taylor.
Well, comes through here in the back end, gets away from her. See that skidding going in here? And boy, that's not the way you want to look at 13. See the air? See the back runner come up a little bit? And you can roll into that curve or roll into the next curve.
Yeah.
Or almost roll into the other curve like Alana Myers-Taylor did.
Next up for Germany, our 10th starter. This is Stephanie Schneider with Lisa Buchwitz. Stephanie didn't race here last year. She was recovering from a broken collarbone. However, she has won on this track. She was in the last German sled to win. At the back, she was braking for Kathleen Martini in 2012.
This is a big run for Schneider.
Oh,
watch out.
Well, luckily, it's a long way down to turn 1. It's not as immediate as some of them, so she hauled herself into the sled.
Now she's got to get a frame of mind because she crashed in training. Her first run in the last day of training, she came the second run. She was okay. That's a hit there. This is an inexperienced pilot who's won the last 2 times out on very conservative tracks, Innsbruck and Winterberg. Eagles in Winterberg, excuse me.
All right, but she's the local girl from Saxony here. She's got this under control now.
Watch out, that's
big
not
height
under
to the exit, and she's gone. Big height, and the second pressure of the Kreisel is never good.
This is the athlete who won the last 2 races.
And crashed on the final day of training. And her brake woman is clinging on, but can't hold on any longer.
Now there's a real issue if they don't catch this sled.
Yeah.
Because the brakeman is in the track.
And she knows the danger, and she's going to try and stand up and climb out, but they have to catch the sled.
No, it's coming back.
So Lisa Buchwitz, look at her puffing and panting. She was hanging on with every ounce of her strength, but her driver is now tucked under the cowl. The doctor's there again quickly, but Lisa Buchwitz is looking pretty beaten up. You know, you're panting like a racehorse at the end of the run anyway. There's no time to recover from the sprint at the start. And as you said, John, this is a half marathon in comparison to most start tracks.
just can't believe they don't have a hook out there.
Well, Lisa's going to get back at that.
But she's going to get hurt.
That's not a good idea.
No, get out of there.
You know, we're a week away from Olympic selection. Do not get your ankle between a runner and a wall.
You know, we see in Whistler where they come up that steep upgrade at the start and they just hook the sleds and immediately, you know, so we've been a minute since she's crashed and the sled's been going back and forth, and the safety of the athlete's paramount, and let's hope we see Stephanie get out of that sled. There's the doctor.
Yeah.
I said to the good doctor, I saw him yesterday, I said, hope you aren't busy today. Well, he's been busy here in the first 9 sleds.
Yeah.
Here's Stephanie, veteran brakeman, but more there. Remember last year in Whistler, starting the season in 2015, 16, 17, she had multiple crashes in Whistler, broke her collarbone, missed most of the season, tried to make a comeback in the first race after Christmas, broke her collarbone again in another accident. Watch her go up. Comes down too early. Centrifugal force, back up. Look how high she is. Now she's got to go back up again. That's no man's land. And that's just no choice. The sled's going to go over.
Yeah, the sled gets pushed back down by gravity after the second pressure, and then the centrifugal force starts pushing her up the wall.
Look at the gouges it puts in the ice.
And look at that, you know, when it almost inverts and lands again, both heads are exposed.
You know, last 2 weeks, the German media have been all over her because of her wins in Winterberg and Innsbruck, and she gets great starts. We saw her fall at the start. We haven't seen the start shot where she fell.
No. Well, there's Lisa Buchwitz, and
veteran athlete on the German program. Crowd is silenced because it's a big Saxon crowd, and this is a Saxon athlete who's a lot of media following her.
Yeah. So it's our second crash, second track hold, but even though the crew look to be okay, they will not go again. Both crew members have to cross the line in the sled, or all crew members have to cross the line in the sled.
So that means the Japanese are automatically qualified because they finished.
Again, though, the hit that Oshigiri had, I would not allow her to slide again. I don't know what the doctor said, I don't know what Hans Wimmer would say, but I would not be putting her in a sled. Schneider and Bertels, and it was a late change, in fact, from Lisa Buchwitz. So it was Franziska Bertels. You saw there with the red hair, the tall figure of Fran Bertels, who was another brake woman who very successful with Sandra Kyriasis and Kathleen Martini. In fact, she took silver here with Sandra behind Kathleen Martini and Stephanie Schneider. So the two women in the sled that just crashed went gold and silver as brake women the last time we had German sleds on the podium here. So track hold as we get the sled out of the track.
Boy, it's I bet you up there in the locker room.
Nerves jangling, you think?
You know, here it is, Myers-Taylor, who got second in the last race, and Schneider, who won the last race. Both of them crash. I mean, Myers-Taylor was a second back, so she might as well have said she crashed.
Yep.
And I'm sure the biorhythms up there are not pure.
Well, Mariama Yamanka is next to go, Stephanie Schneider's teammate. You know,
who I say is the best driver in the women's German driver in the field. She has great lines. We've been impressed with her in her third season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if she can break it onto the podium here. Yamanka had 2 podium finishes last year in Winterberg and Koenigsee.
She's one of the multiple throwers that are in the, I mean, Jamaica here, Schneider just came down, are both javelin throwers. Track and field background, the field events.
Young Ann-Kristen Strack on the back handles, 23-year-old hurdler. And this is only her 9th start in the World Cup.
She's from Gießen. And again, you know, the hurdlers, the throwers, the sprinters, the decathletes.
Mariama Yamanka is the veteran of the 3 German drivers. This is her 19th World Cup race start.
You know, they were always just said that she just didn't have the start ability, but starts are getting better.
Yeah.
She's trying to get bobsled fit. She gets away here in the, I'd say in the 70, 69 or 70. she could challenge Jamie Grubel-Poser at the bottom.
Okay, clock's running, 60 seconds in which to start and break the start beam, and they waste no time. They're not hanging around.
69 or 70, 71, anything.
Anything in the 70s is good. 72, that's a little quicker than Stephanie Schneider went, but of course Schneider slipped. Anna-Kola went 68.
Clean. Now watch her come through 3-4. Taps. Watch out here.
Tell you what, if your heart's not going 12 to the dozen, I don't know what.
Great sound. Great lines.
And look how busy the track is. It's absolutely rammed with humanity all the way down this Altenberg track. This is a big sport in a small town.
Look at that exit.
Really nice lines from Mariami Amanka. 5th place at the start, still in 5th on the splits. Is she being conservative?
She's coming into 4th.
Up to 4th.
That's great speed.
Challenging teammate Anna-Kola.
This is looking good.
78.1 at the bottom. She goes 4th, and she's 100th behind Anna-Kola.
Wow, Anna-Kola's made a statement here today. Of course, Schneider crashed, but she beat Jamaica.
Yeah.
Of course, she's got Dresden pushing for her.
Kola, the 24-year-old, in her first season as a driver in the World Cup.
Anna-Kola's come out of nowhere to make a statement.
Her best result, 5th place last time out in Innsbruck.
Watch this tap here. Before the take-on, that's up top. She went from 600ths behind to 1900ths of the next clock relative to that mistake, and then this one didn't help. Look at the back end here.
Yeah.
Airborne. Now she drives in the middle of the curve. Look at that quick transition.
Yeah, the late high early on left her late on 3 and hit into 4. Next up, Katie Beil for Austria, another slider who had crashes here. This is her 11th World Cup start, has never raced here before. And her brakewoman, Victoria Hahn, 24-year-old weightlifter, only her 3rd ever World Cup start.
Well, this athlete here, the driver, won 4 of the 5 Europa Cup races and finished 5th at the Wittenberg race, which was her personal best ever, her debut in the World Cup. No, she had a World Championship last year, but that surprised everybody.
Ooh, little late there, and again, hits on the way in.
Ooh,
and again,
that's not good there.
Tail end clatter. This is very loose indeed from Katrin Beil. Vicky Hahn, her brakewoman, is a multiple Austrian record holder in 2 weight categories.
69 and 75 kilo snatch.
Yeah, snatch and clean and jerk. So that explosive power translating into bobsled as well. Beil's very late.
Snuck out of there. Look at her.
She's hanging on. Well, it may not be pretty, but it's inside the top 10 at the moment, and she's down in one piece, 8th place at the line. Take that every day of the week.
Yeah, Austrian coaches will take that. Manfred Baer, Franz Joseph Hoffman.
Well, she started 10th fastest, came down 8th fastest. Okay, the gesture is a bit ho-hum. Yeah, that was a little wild, but...
It was pretty loose up top.
Yeah, but she carried the speed.
And she's at the bottom.
Yep, without use of the helmet. Yeah, big puff of relief.
Watch this hard hit here. Take on to 3 to 4. That transition is nemesis to everybody. Now watch her go in the middle. Watch the back end of the sled. That wasn't too bad a change of direction. Here in 13, high.
Well, she got straightened up by the wall, and that kind of tidied it all up for her, actually.
And then here she finds a way out of 14 before there's any more damage.
Big smiles from Katie Beil. That's one thing you always get from her, is a big grin. Next up is Great Britain's Mitra Mcneill with Mika Moore, the 24-year-old driver, 25-year-old brakewoman, the reigning junior world champions. 12th here in 2015, disqualified in last year's race.
Moore, the Welsh 4x100 champion at the Commonwealth Games.
Best ever result for Misha was in Whistler, finished in 5th position. What was a golden couple of weeks, really, for British bobsledding, for the men and the women.
Oh, hard hit there. 10th best start, so if she drives herself into 6th or 7th, that's good.
She's lining herself up, needs to get a good, comfortable, confident start to the season, because she will be going to Pyeongchang for the British women's bobsleigh team.
These are great lines.
That's really nice and smooth.
Really?
8th place.
Excellent.
A 10th place start.
The only sleds come down this clean is Kelly Humphreys.
7th place. Could be top 6 at the line. And you know,
clean run, great speed.
It's not a starter's track, it's a driver's track. And if you can, look, she started 10th, she finished 5th. She's outperformed your start by 5 places.
The only other sled has come down that clean is Kelly Humphreys.
That's a really nice drive for Mitra Mcneill. Now she can capitalize on that. She might have a shot at the medals here. She's getting out of the sled a little gingerly. A lot of the British bobsledders have been feeling very unwell.
Big mistake there, too. Look at the back end here. Look at that. The bottom left runner, back left runner was airborne there. We've been seeing the bottom or the back right. This wasn't perfect, but as good a drive as Kelly Humphreys. The only difference was Humphreys had a 2400ths better start.
Well, she's suffering with the flu at the moment. A lot of the British bobsledders have had the norovirus tearing through them as well. And in the same hotel are all the Russians. They seem to have been okay. This is Alexandra Rodionova with Nastasia Ketseva behind her.
This is the former luge athlete.
Finished 7th here last year in the race, John. Her best ever as a pair of 6th position. So this is a track that should really suit her as a driver.
She's from Brox, like a lot of the Russians are. Not bad there.
Yeah.
Start, the 11th best start, 87. Her brakeman is probably the tallest brakeman in the field.
Yeah, 27 years old, about 6 foot.
Great lines.
Nice stuff from Alexandra Rodionova.
She's got it up to 8th. Exit here, slingshot.
Ooh, big skid.
Not bad. Pretty quiet there. Real good there. Clean runners. Look at the runner tips. Not good. Watch out here.
Backing it in.
It's a little bit like Alana Myers. Not as bad. She's still got it at 8th. Wasn't perfect.
Yeah, with Alana, the sled started going left and then went right. So she got away with that. 57.22, 2100ths behind Mitra Mcneill, and that's 3 spots further back in 8th position. Yeah, when the sled starts to zig and zag like that, down past us, over the brow, once it starts to slide, and then it goes light, it just exaggerates it. The driver's got no chance of bringing it back.
This wasn't bad. 11-12, a little minor skid, little steering issue here. Now watch, see if the back end comes out on her. She comes straight down the middle. Here on the uphill section, the graveyard. Well,
sideways.
When you go sideways in the uphill section of a gravity sport, not good.
But at least it was heading in the right direction. Breaking away left. Next is her teammate, and Nadezhda Sergeva wasting no time in getting away. She finished 9th last year here.
Had a 5th place finish on the tour.
Yeah, she was 4th in Winterberg last year, which is still her best World Cup result.
Steering around that curve. Let's see if she can get out of 3. Nobody's got out of 3-4 clean except for Alana Myers because she steered too much.
Whoa.
That one was
now that
good.
Keeps the speed on board, doesn't it? 8th at the start, already up to 7th on the splits.
Skid though in the second part of the labyrinth. This is drifting.
Oh, tappity-tap. Gets her back on the right side.
Change. No, we don't see the speed there.
She's on the right side for the Kreisel. 8th place on the split times, down to 11th. So all of that sliding around has cost her speed, but she's cleaner at the bottom than her teammate. So she could come back ahead of Alexandra Rodionova, and that's her battle now.
Yeah.
Sergeva must finish ahead of Rodionova.
10th,
10th place.
Back. 100th of a second behind Alana Myers-Taylor.
But 1300ths behind her teammate. When Rodionova came into the World Cup, Sergeva had a handle on her. Last season, midway through, the balance changed, and Rodionova is the #1 Russian woman at the moment.
Sergeva had a 900ths better start, too. So
yeah.
It's
Rodionova's feel for ice that she's got from all those years of luge that seems to be having its effect now.
Exit 8-9, this combination here, and this is where the time started to fall away for her. A couple taps there in that straightaway where it's best to have a perfect exit.
She's only 16 points behind her teammate. Kaylee Humphries, the race leader, with 15 sleds down in our field of 21. Christina Hengster has had a bronze medal in Altenberg in the last 2 World Cup races. Can the Austrian with brakewoman Jennifer Onosanya do it again?
This is strange because Onosanya is Dutch, and you will not. I don't think she's going to get a passport to go to the Olympic Games, but Hengster's, she's looking for qualification and points. And as good a driver as there is in the field, but she's had a rough season.
Yeah. Best result, 8th place in Whistler. Crashed out of the first race in Lake Placid. Well, we know she's got driving ability. That's a little uncomfortable of an exit, though.
See if that costs her 115 flat, the speed, 71.5 miles an hour. Great exit, 11 and 12.
Nails
this is where
it.
you can make time. 116's excellent speed.
72 miles an hour.
Still at 6th, though. The start time, 7th best start. She can play with that.
What can she find in the last corner? Up to 5th.
Yeah, that's a good drive it'll do. Jawohl, says Manfred Meyer.
Yeah.
Well, he knows this is a very good driver. Goes ahead of McNeill. She's only 900ths out of a medal.
Yeah.
And that's attainable.
That's a real chance,
on
absolutely.
This track, because both Germans in front of her don't have the experience. And it, like you said, Martin, she's medaled here the last 2 times out.
Yep.
Nice to see Christina, the policeman, smile. Boy, she got out of there real quick. This is in the last part of the labyrinth into 9. That caused her the problem. Her mistake wasn't there. Her mistake was back up 50 yards.
Always is that you see the end result. It happens 2 or 3 corners earlier.
Yeah. But this was great. Pretty good lines down here.
Little skid
there,
sort of backs its way in.
But the speed in the bottom part of the track.
Well, she's usually got a smile on her face, but that is a big smile. Next up for Jamaica, Jasmine Fenley Victorian and Carrie Russell. Last time Jazz was here was in 2015. She finished 9th for the USA.
Dudley Stokes back there in the gold hat. That's the original Jamaican bobsled pilot that inspired Cool Runnings.
And behind with the horn, Sandra Kiriasis, who won the World Championships here in 2008.
Whoa, a couple skids already by a very experienced driver.
Again, it's been 3 seasons since she was here in Altenberg. So you're a little rusty.
Brakeman, 4x100 relay gold medalist at the World Track and Field Championships in Moscow in 15.
Oh, look out! Sideways into the Kreisel. Watch for the exit.
She holds it down. She really held it down, which means that costs her lots of speed.
Yeah. So she's gone
like that.
She's gone from 14th at the start down to 16th.
Well, she had the skid up there between 1 and 2, and she just, the back end was flying around there too. Not a great run for an experienced pilot. Sandra's not happy. Dudley on the right. Nice to see Dudley Stokes here.
Yep.
3-3 the time in 15th place at the moment for Team Jamaica.
That's last, second to last, 15 and 16.
Yeah, between the 2 Japanese sleds, but remember Maria Oshigiri crashed in the first heat. I'm not sure she'll go in the second.
Well, really steered on the exit of 9, and a lot of drifting, but her mistake was up in 1 and 2. That didn't help.
That tap into the Kreisel.
Watch how low she stays. Look at the back end. She's really keeping it. She's steering. And when you steer that much, friction. There again, a lot of steering.
But then when you don't steer in the Kreisel, when you go in sideways and you don't steer, you're going to crash, and it's going to be hard.
Ask Stephanie Schneider.
Yeah. Elfie Willemsen of Belgium, 6th position in the race here last year for the 32-year-old, with 61 World Cup starts now under her belt, 1 as a brakewoman. This is her 61st as a driver.
Another hammer javelin thrower in the front seat. I think there's five in the field that come from throwing javelins or hammer throwers.
She's had 2 consecutive silver medals, 2015, 2016.
So she's 12 at the start.
And each of those medals was with a different brakewoman. She's got a 3rd different brakewoman, Sarah Ertz, with her this year.
She's already driven herself up into 8th. She's medaled on this track before when they started giving her the name of one of the Belgian bullets. And she's up into 7th. The speed is decent.
Talked to her just before they went to the top of the track. This is her favorite track of them all.
Still in 7th, but good speed down here. You'll get rewarded. She's got the good speed.
Can she get up to Mitra Mcneill and Christina Hengster into the top 5 at the line? She's 6. And she's 700ths behind Christina Hengster. And again, John, that bronze medal position held by Anna Kola, 1600ths away. That might be doable as well.
Listen.
She may have more runs as a driver than anyone else in the field, I think. That's her 61st World Cup start as a driver.
Kaylee's.
There you go. Yeah. I only opened my mouth to change feet.
You were close. She might be the silver medalist in that category.
Well, when Elfia made her debut here as a brakewoman, Kaylee was driving, Alana was a brakewoman still, and only Christina Hengster was also driving.
Well, this one too, though.
Then she was, but yeah, she took 5 years away. Rahel Rebsamen, her brakewoman, makes her 3rd World Cup start with Sabine Hafner, the double junior world champion, back in her first career as a bobsled driver, 2009-10.
So Rahel, she's a 400-meter hurdler, a lot of hurdlers in the field, but her job, she's a hat and dressmaker. Didn't know that.
There you go.
And the firecracker, ooh, just hit hard.
14th at the start, picked up a spot already at the first speed track.
She knows this track well. That line right there on the exit of 9 shows it.
Up to 9th on the splits. Again, not a starter.
Great speed, better than Williamson.
She's a driver, and look out for her next week in St. Moritz.
Yeah, skidding here though.
9th place.
Now, this shows that. Oh! But she corrects, no problem.
Up to 8th, but surely that speed will go away.
Yes, your speed is not the best.
9th at the line. Between Rissling and De Bruyne.
She lost some time on the bottom.
Yeah. Well, she hit the wall hard enough that it was always going to pay her back somewhere, wasn't it?
Lost some time on the bottom. That exit of 13, 14, she knows it. The firecracker. Well, this is the hard hit, 3 to 4. One of the harder hits, and probably the back end's going to be airborne. Both runners in the air, and that causes a lot of friction on the nose. And then down here in 13, 14, she corrects pretty well. It looked pretty horrific there for a second.
Yeah, hit hard though as she got light over the brow. And that cost her. Anne van Nieuwenhuizen, Belgium, the 26-year-old, finished 4th here in last year's race, just out of the medals. Sophie Verkrijzen behind her again. Belgium's shortest basketball player, surely. Started as a brakewoman, van Nieuwenhuizen.
Okay, let's see what Belgian number 2. You know what her favorite movie is?
No.
Frozen.
All right. It's either that or Cool Runnings. Yeah. That's the kind of Venn diagram of being a bobsledder and watching TV. Well, 4th place here last year, equaled her best ever World Cup result.
She can also drive.
Yeah.
Has a lot of issues at the starts. It's the exit, the runners. Real late, and now she's got to collect herself.
Well, this is not going to be a top 4 run. 13th at the start, she's only 12th.
3 kilometers down to her teammate at that position, which is a mile and a half. Mile per hour. 114. Again, she's clean there, though.
Yep.
She's 15th, so not a good run for Anne. She's done better on this track.
Yeah. In fact, she started 13th. Always does.
14th.
Well, if she's going to win or lose by 100th, it's not going to be because she got her head stuck out in the airflow over the final corner. And also, you know, being 5'2" allows her to duck ahead a little easier than some of them. Well, she wasn't happy with that drive at all. I mean, John, the sled was sliding under her all the way down the track.
Yeah, she's still smiling, but she's at the bottom. This didn't help. got in there too late, came out from the exit of 9, and you don't want to be looking at the Kreisel curve like that. You know, she shaved away a kilometer, 2 kilometers, 1.5 miles into that entrance to Kreisel.
Well, there's Anne and Sophie, and here is our final sled from Switzerland, 31-year-old Martina Fonteneva and her 22-year-old brakewoman, Muswama Kambunji, who is making her World Cup debut. She has raced precisely once before in a bobsleigh in European Cup racing.
Clean.
31-year-old from Zurich. This is her 5th ever World Cup race. She's been here once before in the Europa Cup. And the brakewoman, you'll be unsurprised to hear a sprinter. 100, 200 and 4x1 are her chosen disciplines. This is not a bad-looking run. She's got to keep it tidy, keep it all together, and make sure that she gets a second heat. That's what it's all about, learning.
Pretty good lines, speeds, excellent. She's very quiet steering. Let's see if she gets through the graveyard. No, as soon as I jinxed her there. Speed is, you know, about where she is. She's 18th on the clocks right now.
Interesting choice by the Swiss coaches to bring her here to Altenberg instead of doing the Europa Cup race in St. Moritz, which she knows better. So they're obviously intent on getting her to learn. And that gets her across the line safely in 18th place, ahead of Jasmine Fenlater-Victorian in the Jamaican sled, and Maria Oshigiri, who crashed the Japanese sled. So she's down, she's in one piece, and a brakewoman, welcome to the World Cup without the use of a helmet.
This is causing a lot of problems here, that exit of 14. And then you go into that uphill spot. You lose a lot of time down there in a place where the track will reward you with good lines.
Well, here's our first heat leader, Kaylee Humphries, with brakewoman Felicia George, not only getting a great start, but also crushing her own track record by over half a second with the first heat alone to take a lead of 44 hundredths ahead of Jamie Grubel-Poser. So Kaylee Humphries, the winner on this track the last 2 races, is back in the leader's box with the second heat still to go. 44 hundredths to second, 53 hundredths down to 69, third to sixth. That's where your medals will come from. And the battle between Anna-Kola, Marianne Yamanka, Christina Hengster and Elfia Willemsen will be the warm-up for Kaylee Humphries and Jamie Grubel-Poser battling for victory here.
What's nice about that, 6 of the first 7 sleds, 6 different nations.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely right. And we had a couple of crashes as well. Unfortunately, Stephanie Schneider, Franziska Bertels couldn't stay in the sled despite all her best efforts. She got spat out, so they won't be going again. And I'm not sure that Maria Oshigiri really should be allowed to either. Altenberg is tough enough when you haven't had a good ring of the bell on the ice. Don't forget, you can join us for the second and deciding heat in just over 30 minutes from now.
Wow.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more of that. They'll be back on ice at 2:30 local, and that is 13:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the rest of the crew in half an hour.